Welcome to this session, which is entitled Overcoming the Consultancy Hurdle. I'm Miles Levy. I'm a consultant endocrinologist at Leicester. And we are co-chaired by Sheba Jarvis, who's an ST6, who is pursuing a career in academic medicine, and Tony Cole, who is a clinical academic at Edinburgh. So this session was initiated by the Society for Endocrinology because it's recognised that there's a need for sort of fireside advice for future trainees. And we've got really good people speaking who are well placed. So I would encourage the speakers to stick to time so there's plenty of time for discussion. Please ask any question, however daft you think it is, because it's probably the one that everybody wants to ask. Okay. So Partha Carr was on the bill, but he's stuck in Portsmouth because of the fog. So Nim De Alvis has kindly agreed to come and talk. Now, he's a newly appointed consultant, and he's going to talk about his experiences as a new consultant. And I think he's cobbled together his talk within the last half an hour. So well done, Nim, and thanks. Please come and tell us your thoughts about the next generation consultant.
Right, thank you. Well, I don't even know whether to thank or not, but I was accosted about half an hour ago and asked to speak about this. Obviously, if you came here expecting the flamboyance of Partha Carr, I'm really sorry. I tried to sit there and think, what would Partha have said in a talk like this over 10 minutes? And I think he would have said something we never absolutely expected to hear. So what I thought I'm going to do is talk about a couple of tips that I got when I was going to become a consultant. I was going to talk about 3 challenges that I have faced over the last year and a half, and then give you a little bits of advice to whoever's out there as registrars who are hoping to become consultants. I don't think what I speak will be applicable to everyone. I haven't read any literature on this. Well, I did read lots of articles about how to become a new consultant when I first tried to be a consultant, but I think there are lots of other personal experiences which I think that lots of people probably don't share. So I am a diabetes endocrinologist in a DGH, and again, depending on the job you're looking for, things might be different. But a few things that I think will be applicable to everybody. First of all, I was given 2 big tips. 1, take a holiday before you take your consultant job. And I think that's the last holiday you're ever going to have till you retire. I think holidays are very tricky. As registrars, we love to go on holiday, come back, and yes, there may be a clinic to dictate, but nothing more. But as a consultant, you come back to a lot of work after a holiday, and I think you almost dread coming back after a holiday because, you know, depending on how long you've taken, that will determine how big your list of paperwork is and how many emails there are to start wading through. And within that, there'll be also always that email either from the coroner's office inviting you to come and give a talk, be present, or a complaint for some patient who's not happy. So yeah, the holiday bit, I agree with completely. Take that holiday if you are hoping to become a consultant. Oops, sorry, I think I might have done something there. Second bit, I'm not using any presentation. Second bit of advice I was given is say no to everything. And I think you might have already got this bit of advice. I don't agree with that completely. I think saying no to everything is because your job can suddenly become much more than you expected it. We all start at 10 PAs, and then very soon it will be much more than that. But I think that advice depends on how long you've got. And I came in after doing lots of research, came in quite late in my life, and really I didn't think it applied to me. I had to hit the ground running. So I think that advice is good if you're a 24-year-old, 25-year-old taking up a consultant job. But I think otherwise you do not have time to say no to everything. You've got to take things as it comes, really start making your place in the NHS. So they were the 2 main tips that I got. I know that there are lots of articles about what you should and shouldn't do. I want to talk about a few challenges. I think one big challenge that we all know of and everyone keeps harping on is we are not trained to become managers. In the Northeast, we are quite fortunate because we have what's called a Diabetes Endocrine Management Forum, and we meet on a monthly basis and we get managers to talk to us. And so we start off, at least up there, knowing what to do, how to look at job plans and how to look at the figures in the NHS. So we do have some sort of a knowledge, but if you don't, management can be a bit of a difficult thing. And I think management in terms of level at your department, so, are you going to be the CG lead? How do you set up a business case? How do you set up improvement in quality services, etc.? And then, of course, as a trust, various committees that you may be asked to come and join, various expansion projects that you might be asked to join. So I think having a good basis on management is important, and thankfully, I think I had that to an extent, and we in the Northeast do, but if you don't, that management is very important. Secondly, I think one of the main things is who am I and how do I identify where I fit in the NHS? I think there's a big difference in some of us who are registrars. We've been waiting to be registrars for a long time. You go in there thinking, oh, I am now top dog. So anybody else is beneath me. I can do what I want. But really, you are just a very small speck, even in your own trust. And the sooner you realize that, the better. And so I think it's also the balance of that is that you don't completely undervalue yourself and think, I can't make a difference. So what I found within the last year and a half is I've constantly asked myself and placed myself as to what I can do, what I cannot do. And I think it's very important. We've all met that consultant where you think, I don't ever want to be like that person. Or you met the other person who thought, I want to be like that person. And I think we need to ask ourselves, have I become somebody I don't want to? Just because being a consultant is very stressful, and you might think suddenly your character changes, but I think I would encourage all registrars who are taking up consultant posts not to change if you're a nice person. If you aren't, yes. But it's really important in that sense to identify who you are, where you're placed, and what you can do. You can't suddenly start throwing your juniors about, and you can't suddenly expect all the professors who you've trained under suddenly to think, I'm completely equal with you, so I don't really care what you say, and things like that. But I think it's really important. If you go in and start working at the same places that you were trained in, I think a challenge that I had is it's very difficult to suddenly start treating your trainers as your colleagues. And some of us might struggle with that. I think coming from a South Asian background, that was a bit difficult for me. And I think the thing with diabetes endocrine trainees are that we have a lot of people from the subcontinent. And I think everybody who are senior consultants are very accommodating. They're all very friendly. They're no one to be afraid of. And I think, again, something to ask yourself, where do I fit in? And, recognizing what you do within the trust. What are the bits of advice I would give? I would come back to the fact of, watching the work-life balance, which is really important. And I think in the first 2 years, it's fair enough to work as much as you can, because work you do as a consultant is not like the grudging work you do as a registrar. Oh, I'm here till 12 o'clock in the night. But it's always an investment into your own service, into your projects, into your service build. And I had to come into Sunderland without knowing much about setting up an entire obesity service, something that I had to do by myself. And again, I found that I was putting in far too many hours, and then sometimes you had to take a step back and think, where am I going with this? Yes, first 2 years I will work, but after that, take a step back. Your flexibility is a nice plus point. I think as registrars, we're always saying, oh, I can't go and ask the consultant for another day off, or, I can't leave early today. But I think as a consultant, you can move around, so that's something to look forward to. You do have a little more respect from nurses and everybody else, which is great, and I'm sure you're all waiting for that. But it's again, ask yourself, you don't want to put yourself or portray yourself any higher than you really are, and I think it pays to be nice to people. Next generation consultant, which was what the title said, and I think the things that have been a rude shock to me, the NHS always does not have money. So you think you have all these grandiose ideas. When I become a consultant, I'm going to set this up and set that up, but there's always that financial constraint, and that's going to hit us really hard. I think as diabetes endocrine trainees, outreach is probably the key, and I'm sure if Partha was here, he would say the same thing. It's going out doing things in the community, being flexible enough to do that and not thinking, I just need to be in hospital and I'm not getting out of here. Yeah, the days in the era of your own office, your own secretary are probably gone, so don't expect that when you become a consultant anymore. You'll be shared desking and shared secretary pools. And I think we've also got to face 7-day working, where we in Sunderland already work 7 days. We do weekend ward rounds, and I'm sure the whole country is going to move towards that. The last thing I'm going to say, as I've got 57 seconds, is as a registrar, you are a fantastically valuable commodity, okay? The trusts, the other consultant teams need you far more than you need their job at this climate, I'm saying. This is an era where there are jobs, but sometimes not enough registrars, not enough right person for it. So always, when you're going to choose your job, I would say be very careful, be selective. Don't just think, oh, they've got a job, I'm going to go for it, otherwise I might never get a job again. But that doesn't work like that. You don't get people who don't get jobs. Everybody gets a job, so don't feel disheartened by that. That's me done. I hope I was useful and managed to step into Partha's shoes in some way. Thank you.